Good evening, YouTube. It's
Hi.
Ian and Jane do the Edinburgh Fringe. If you've not seen us before, I was going to say there's hundreds of videos. There's not hundreds of videos. There are on the channel, but actually we've got about 40. I think I haven't quite got completely up to date, but they're all linked down below. This is our last day here, and this is show 2, which was a little earlier. We've just seen 3 shows back to back. This was at 4:05 this afternoon, and it was my choice. And it just intrigued me, this, because it actually happened, and this is when Kurt met Thora, and that's Kurt Cobain meeting Thora Hird. So if you don't know who Kurt Cobain is, it's Nirvana. But do you want to read the little?
Yeah. So we were given some handouts actually when we went in. So when Kurt met Thora, BBC Studios, November 1991. Thora Hird, aka Captain Emily Ridley from Hallelujah, encounters Kurt Cobain ahead of Nirvana's infamous appearance on Top of the Pops. A mutual love of coastal towns, music and family is revealed over tea and custard creams as they reflect on their individual experience of God and wonder if, at the final reckoning, Jesus will want them for sunbeams, and whether happiness is ever really a choice or something predetermined for us all.
Now, interestingly, it says that it's the infamous appearance.
Yes.
There is one appearance of Nirvana on Top of the Pops where they played their hit, which I think was, I don't know which song it was really now, but they played it at half speed.
Okay.
But it was said that in mine, I don't know if that was the actual one, but...
I wasn't watching Top of the Pops in 1991, so...
And it sounded horrible, I'll be honest, if that was... But I don't know whether that was later or not. Anyway, that's an aside. I really liked this. I thought it was great. I thought first of all, the actor who was Ant Hopkinson playing Kurt really did look like him.
He did.
You know, I have to say that Kelly Gamble playing Thora didn't look like Thora Hird, but
but her mannerisms. She had the voice.
She was incredibly funny.
Yeah.
She
played her beautifully.
She did actually, yeah. And that wasn't a criticism. I just didn't think she looked like her. Yeah. But and I thought it was absolutely. There are some dark elements to it.
Very. Because we knew we were seeing 3 back to back. You know, we obviously normally film practically straight after. So I've actually taken notes on the first 2 shows that we saw because I was aware that we'd be doing this. And, I just wanted to have some sort of
just
points.
Before you read your notes, can I just say that? I have read about Kurt Cobain, and Kurt Cobain was a very sensitive guy who, we know that he committed suicide, but actually he really didn't get on with fame at all. He really struggled with it, and he'd had a very difficult upbringing. And it's referred to, isn't it?
He says that he had a lovely. I can't remember if I actually went. No, happy. Yeah, he said he had a happy childhood up till about the age of 9.
Yeah.
And that seemed to be linked to when his parents got divorced, and then after that, obviously, it was awful. It
was awful, and he did sleep rough, and he sort of, and he actually does mention that, and all of that. I know that all of that is true. That as from. They must have been like from the age of 9, but certainly through his teenage years, he had a very difficult time.
Okay.
That
did come
out. But certainly the stuff that I've read about him was that he was an incredibly sensitive guy, and yes, he did get into heroin and he did have stomach trouble. And that's why apparently he took heroin, because I remember seeing an interview.
He did refer to his stomach.
And he had a lot of pain, which, as he said, he saw 10 doctors and they couldn't resolve it. Which seems, the way he found he could resolve it long term was heroin.
But in the actual piece, you've got this. What was basically a very surreal encounter.
It was, yes, exactly.
Because obviously it happened. Thora comes in dressed up as a member of the Salvation Army, which obviously Kurt doesn't know what the Salvation Army is. And she asks him where he comes from, and obviously I can't remember the name of the place, but we've got a.
Well, it's Aberdeen. It comes
that's
from
right, Aberdeen, but not Scotland.
And she thinks
Aberdeen,
it's Scotland, but actually it's in
America.
It's near Seattle.
Yeah. And of course she starts talking about Morecambe.
Yes.
And offers him custard cream, shows him how to eat custard cream.
I have to say, you have to see the custard cream bit, because that is absolutely the funniest bit of the whole thing.
Yeah. But overall it's a very gentle piece. So you've got Thora sort of telling him about her life, where she met her husband, about her family. He reciprocates actually and tells her about, memories of his family, obviously the fact that he had a lovely childhood, and he remembers going to the seaside and things like that. But then they sort of stop the action, as it were, and he just stands up, and he then goes into some of his very dark places, and it's very, his language, and he talks about Satan, some very explicit language. And because you know of what happened, it's a real contrast.
It is a contrast between what is really funny, and what is very dark. I've just noticed here it's actually a 12 plus. I would have said I would have preferred it to be a 14 plus, if I'm honest.
So,
but it says guideline, so I mean, our advice would be 14 plus, really. Did you have anything more on your notes?
No. A couple of things that I started with was that obviously she referred to him as Kirk.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Initially, he said, "My name's Kurt," but that was quite funny. Yeah. And then they sort of, it was a bit stilted, that because obviously they'd never met. She was waiting for her car to come and pick her up. He was waiting to be called for Top of the Pops, and I've just written here that they sort of bonded over the Beatles, and there were just lovely little moments where they refer. Well, I mean, sometimes Kurt referred to a song, or Thora did, and then they each sort of knew it, and they began to sing it to each other.
Yeah. There's some lovely little moments in it, actually.
So it was, apart from those very dark. I mean, he got very sort of frustrated and angry, and it was only a short piece, but and it wasn't while he was talking to Thora. Everything else was very gentle, and he came over as a very gentle man. I
mean, obviously, we weren't in the room, and the writers weren't in the room.
No.
So it's an assumption of what was actually said to them.
I suppose what we don't know is whether. I mean, Thora may have repeated some of what they talked about.
I mean, it is quite possible that if some of the information is from a book, maybe, I don't know.
No, but obviously it happened. They did meet.
Yeah. And I'd like to think that that's how they did interact with each other.
And you can absolutely believe that it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you when it's on.
It was lovely.
It's on at 4:05 in the afternoon until the 17th.
Yeah.
So it's a week, right? It's this week.
Yeah.
The price is £10 full price, £8 concession. Anything else?
No.
How many stars?
I think it's very well done, and I would give it a 4.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4 as well. Yeah. So thanks very much. We've got a couple more reviews to do. We'll see you very shortly. Cheers now. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.